G'day everyone. Before we hop into today's vlog, I just want to remind you to please hit that subscribe button. From now on, I'm going to be putting out daily online poker vlogs. We're going to be tracking my process as I play these 6 max online poker cash games 6 out of 7 days of the week. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get the vlogs as they come out. But for now, onto the vlog. G'day everyone, welcome back to the vlog. It is currently 8:30 a.m. here in Melbourne and I've just woken up, which you guys know by now, that's definitely a sleep in by my standards, but I do have a reason I slept in today and a reason I didn't put a vlog out yesterday. The reason that I slept in today, it's not actually that good of one, but my sleeping schedule is just all over the place at the moment. After I played that home game last week, it was just sort of like, I'm just not used to waking up super early, and as you can tell, I've been a bit lax with it lately and definitely do want to get back up into the routine of waking up at around 5 or 6 a.m. every morning to get in as much poker as I can. So that part's on me, that's my bad. In terms of why I didn't put a poker vlog out yesterday, Elizabeth and I actually have some big news, and that's that we're actually moving to a bigger place. So we actually went over to the bigger place yesterday and sort of like figured out, okay, where is all our furniture going to go at this new place. So as a lot of you probably know, the moving process is very stressful. We've only got about 3 weeks to sort everything out before we have to move. But I am super excited about this move, even for the vlog. I actually think this is going to be great for the vlog in the long run, just because at the new place, I'm definitely going to get myself a nice setup with probably a cool new computer that is really good for online poker. And you guys have been asking me forever to do something with like screen sharing or running HUDs, which I can't really do on my current setup with my current cheap laptop. So if I do get a fancy new computer, hopefully it has a lot of RAM and I'll be able to run multiple programs at once. I don't want to promise too much because I haven't really looked into the specs of the type of computer I want, and obviously I do have a bit of a budget that I don't want to go too crazy buying the best computers in the world, but definitely going to look into it. It'll hopefully improve the quality of the vlogs even more so. So we all have that to look forward to in about a month's time or so, moving forward in the vlog, making progress. The one downside is that because of the move, I do think my uploading schedule will be affected and I probably won't be as consistent with uploads. As a lot of you probably know, moving houses is very stressful and time consuming as well. So I don't know if I'll quite have the time to put out 6 vlogs in a single week, but I do promise I will try my best to keep putting content out, starting with today. The plan for today is to play 1,500 hands of hopefully A grade level poker. But before we get into the game, I am starving at this point. I need to cook a feed. Let's go. G'day everyone, welcome back. It is currently 5:30 in the evening here in Melbourne and I've just wrapped up my second poker session for the day. Was able to get in a total of 6 hours and 1 minute of play today, racking me up a total of 1,562 hands. So yet again, we do beat that 1,500 hand goal, which obviously I'm stoked about. That was the goal from the start of the day. A few keen-eye viewers might notice that it did take me a while to get to the 1,500 hands, and that's actually because today I went back to playing 4-tabled. I didn't really address it at the time in the previous 2 vlogs, but I was on a bit of a downswing, to be honest, like losing 5.5 buy-ins within a 2-day period. That's actually pretty, there's a bit of a downswing, to be 100% honest, and I think maybe I just needed to take a few days off, then come back and play less tables so it was easier to focus in on the games. And I really think it worked out for me today. At least it did from a results perspective, because I did end up winning 520 on my efforts today. And in terms of how I feel about my play, my gameplay grade, I'm going to give myself a B+ for today. I really do like a lot of the things I did in today's sessions, and I actually really like that I did go back to 4 tables. I did find it much easier to focus in on what each individual opponent was doing at my table. Additionally, it was very rare that I ended up in a spot post-flop where I was making multiple decisions across multiple streets. Just obviously when you do add in that extra table, it's more likely that you're going to have to split your attention between 2 hands when you go post-flop. But I found like it didn't really happen today. It definitely probably would happen a lot less going forward if I just stuck to 4. So I'm definitely considering just sticking to 4. I didn't give myself an age today though. The reason I want to downgrade myself a bit is just because I feel like for large sections of my sessions, I really did just sort of play ABC, tight aggressive poker. And it's because I was a bit fatigued and sort of on autopilot, which is my own fault. But I definitely need to dial in and focus and mix up aggression when it's good and play tight when it's good. Not just play tight because, I'm feeling lazy and not quite as dialed in as I could be. Not going to downgrade myself too much though, because I do like a lot of the plays I made during today's hand. So definitely going to give myself a B+. For the most part, pretty happy with a lot of the decisions I made in today's hands. This next one though, I'm really not sure. It's a super multi-way pot, which we don't actually get many of playing in these more aggressive 1-2 online games. Typically pots are, 3-bet, 4-bet pre-flop. So it's very rare that you have a multi-way more than like 3 people in a pot. So this next hand is very unique, not only for that reason, but also for the many interesting decision points I have throughout the course of the hand. So without any more rambling on, let's get into that hand. The action starts off a loose passive under the gun player limps, then the actions on a loose aggressive middle position player, they go ahead and raise it up to 8, and then a cutoff calls, the button calls, small blind folds, and then the actions on me in the big blind, and I have ace-9 of diamonds. And already we have a very interesting spot in my opinion. I say this a lot in the vlog, but I don't actually mind any 3 of the options here. I definitely will consider squeezing here pre-flop just because it is a loose aggressive player opening, and that's going to be a wider range of hands than say if a tighter player did the same move. So I definitely do think I'm going to realize a lot of fold equity against their range of hands. But the beautiful thing about squeezing in this dynamic is when they fold, it's very unlikely that any of the other players that call behind are actually going to call my action. So when I do realize my fold equity against one range that's already pretty loose, I'm actually winning a whole lot more than I typically would. So for that reason, I would like squeezing. Ultimately, I decide against 3-betting, however, and the main reason for it is because I have ace-9 suited specifically, and I actually did talk about this briefly in the previous vlog I did, link for that in the description. The problem with hands like ace-9 suited, ace-6 suited, is they're some of the weaker suited ace hands you can potentially have, and that's because they're the type of ones that cannot make a straight on the board. And then even like ace-2, ace-3, ace-5 are stronger because they can all flop wheels. You can't get that with an ace-6 or an ace-9 suited, and the reason I'm bringing that up now is because even though I do think I'm going to win a lot when I do fold out, middle position player, if my read's wrong or they're just at the top of their range here, then I'm going to be going up against a very strong range of hands against them with a hand that doesn't perform as well. And additionally, I also like the under the gun player could be limping, planning to limp raise, and the cutoff or the button could have like pocket 10s, and then my equity against that's really bad with ace-9 suited. So ultimately, because of this hand, I do decide to not 3-bet, although I do think there is a lot of merit to the move. So I have to decide now between calling and folding, and I do think there is a lot of merit to folding just because this is going to be a super multi-way pot and you are going to be out of position for sure. The small blind already folded, so you are going to be dead last in terms of position, and I always say calling out of position in general, bad strategy. So that will be the reason I'll potentially consider folding here. However, I don't fold, I do decide to throw in the call here, and part of that is because I am getting a really good price to play this pot, and because I do have a suited ace hand, if I do flop like the nut flush draw or even a flush itself, the chances that I'm going to stack someone are a lot higher with this hand just because I'm going to have a really strong hand if my opponent flops a flush as well with like a suited connector or a suited king, something like that. So that's the reason I decide to call in the big blind with this hand. However, like I said, I don't mind any 3 of the options. I decide to call this time, and then so does the under the gun player. So we go 5 ways to a flop, which I'm pretty sure is the most multi-way pot we've had on one of these online poker vlogs at least. Live poker's a bit different. You get a lot more multi-way pots. And the flop is queen 7-4 with 2 diamonds. Obviously a pretty good flop for us. We do make the nut flush draw and the action starts off on us, and I honestly do think there is a lot of merit to just leading here. Obviously we could check it to the pre-flop aggressor naturally, but I think in this dynamic, the pre-flop aggressor is probably not going to be stabbing at the pot that much against 4 other people. So if we do want to take an aggressive line with this hand, I really don't mind just leading out here. Ultimately, I decide against it just because the pre-flop aggressor was a loose aggressive player, and who knows, maybe they'll feel super ambitious or tilted or something and just try to stab at it. So I go ahead and check it to them, as does the under the gun player. And then what do you know, if they do decide to stab at it, they make it 27.33. And then things get interesting because the cutoff decides to rip it all in for 85.44. And then, wouldn't you know it, the button actually decides to call the 85. So the action's back on me now, and this is a very awkward spot. I'm about 225 in my stack, which is effective against both the middle position player and the button. So when the action's on me, I'll say straight off the top, I really don't like folding here with a hand as strong as nut flush draw. I think calling's better than folding, just because if you do call, there's going to be at least some implied odds if someone else does have a flush draw, or even if they call a set. If they have a set, they're not going to call, they're not going to fold to when I jam because they have to draw to their full house. So I do think there is some merit to just calling and trying to realize your equity with a call. However, I decide to rip it all in, and in retrospect, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this decision. I think when I do get called, I'm probably only going to get called by like a 2 pair, a set, or a 7 high flush draw, which we're actually behind because obviously that is a pair and a flush draw. And when we're against that range of hands, I'm not really liking our odds. We are a dog. Having said that though, there is a lot of merit to shoving here just to try and fold out the strongest queens that the button and the middle position player might potentially have in their range. Like if I shove there and you have king queen, you're probably like, yeah, I don't really want to get stacks in when this guy called out of the big blind, and you can definitely have sets or nut flush draw type hands. Get equity heads up with the short stack who shoved all in. They can definitely have flush draws in their range, which obviously we dominate with a nut flush draw. So all of those are really good reasons to rip it all in. But I think the main one is if I go all in here, either everyone folds and we just get to run the hand out against the cutoffs range, or someone calls and we still get to see 2 straights of the hand, regardless of what happens. So we're going to see the turn and the river. And then if we do get there with our nut flush draw, like we're going to get to see it. It's not like we're going to call now and then fold turn and then not know if we got there on the river or not, which would be, folding out your equity, to use poker terminology, which is a pretty annoying thing with a hand as strong as a nut flush draw. So the real reason I prefer shoving here is just because I get to realize 2 streets of equity for my entire stack. It's definitely a very close decision either way, and I wouldn't fault anyone for just calling here. I decide to rip it though, and I'm still pretty torn on the decision, to be honest. Like, close spot either way, but I've ripped it all in, and then the under the gun player, who was still in the hand, they fold. And then the middle position player folds, the action folds back down round to the button, and they tank before finally folding. Then we get to see what the cutoff, the short stack that was all in, had, and they had Jack 2 of diamonds. Oh, it's pretty much a perfect scenario for us with the nut flush here. We just have to avoid a jack or a deuce until the turn is the ace of hearts, and we've got them drawing down on the turn. Then we scoop in a pretty big pot. I really do think that flop decision is very interesting though, when all that action happens and you have the nut flush draw out of position. Always super curious to hear what you guys think of it, so hop in the comments below. Let me know what you would do once all that action happens on the flop. Do you go ahead and rip it all in like I did, or do you think it's a good spot to just call, see what happens on the turn, and play against all these people still in the pot? That's going to wrap up another vlog for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. My upload schedule will be a bit less consistent than it has been, like I said earlier in the video, with the move coming up. So I do apologize, but I will be trying to put out as much content as I possibly can going forward. Make sure you hit that subscribe and get the content when it does come out. It still will be very regular. Probably not 6 times a week though, unfortunately. So I do apologize for that, but subscribe and you'll get the content when it does come out, which still will be fairly regularly, like multiple times a week regularly is what I mean. That's going to wrap it up for today. I'm out of here. Peace.